Welcome to Ride Rescue. Well, this is kind of a ride. It's a home on wheels. I got a project that I've been putting off since we bought this trailer. I was hoping to just do some new seals and maybe do a little cosmetics on a disgusting toilet. This trailer is a little over 10 years old. We bought it last year. Really enjoy it. The toilet, recirculating, it's horrible. But to convert this trailer over to a standard toilet and put a holding tank underneath it is just too much work. I was hoping I could save this toilet, but it is just not worth saving. It's got cracks in it, it's discolored, the gauge doesn't work. I've got bugs in here. So I'm hoping it doesn't come to this tool. But I'm definitely going to be needing some tools. The way the bathroom all sets up, I'll show you real quick. But I want to get this thing out of the way so I can work. It's too cramped. I have had some of these panels off before. I had to take it off because a lot of the screws were stripped. So I'm going to remove the panel. But let's just kind of set it up here real quick. Pretty smart design. The other side does the same thing. It goes up and slides into place. But, like I say, it's all going to be in the way, so I'm going to remove it. Oh, that'll work. Well, this is the dilemma. So this is the trouble child. You can see it has a gauge. The way this Thetford toilet is designed, you put 3 gallons in it, you put in your chemicals. This little lever down here on the bottom is closed and it recirculates and cycles the chemically treated waters. And it holds about 6-7 gallons if I'm not mistaken. Once it's full, then you have to dump it. If you're out camping, this lasts my wife and I about 3 days when it has to be dumped. If you're hooked up in like a KOA campsite where you have full hookups, you can just dump it periodically, but you can't just let it drain. It doesn't have a mechanism to do that. You can see it doesn't look too bad until you get further, and you can see it's cracked, it's rusty, and the tank is a coated plastic, and you can see the coating is flaking away and it's sticky. Toilet paper and the likes stick to it. You have to get a stick and force it down. There's something inside the bowl that is causing an obstruction, and it stinks something horrible. So my original thought was, well, for $150 I can buy a new top for this. You can replace this piece and the bowl comes with it. It needs a gauge, and I can't find that gauge anywhere. So with that in mind, and the fact that the underneath side of this is leaking, it's leaking out on the floor, it's leaking and getting underneath the cabinet. You open up that cabinet and it stinks, about gags you. So the toilet's got to come out. They don't last forever. It is over 10 years old. I don't know how much it's been used. It was very expensive, but about $700 later I have all new parts. One of the first things I need to address, this is set up for 12 volt. It does have a conversion if I'm hooked up to 110, but I don't want to get shocked. You can see it goes into the cabinet here, so I'm going to disconnect the batteries. I'm not plugged in, but I do have 2 12 volt batteries hooked up to it. You can see this is how it works. It just has a button that cycles the pump. It also has a a fan switch that is supposed to circulate the air, but it doesn't really do a whole lot, but I guess every little bit helps when you have a really stinky toilet. Okay, definitely powered down. And there we go. Now we start into the dirty work. And the instructions that came with the new toilet didn't really show a lot. There's some slide brackets at the bottom, and there's some clips underneath the bottom. But before I do that, I'm just really curious as to how this whole thing works. So let's just break it open and see how disgusting this really is. Probably screwed down, but removing the gauge, there we go. That's the trick. Nope, this one's not screwed down. So I'm not sure why this gauge wasn't working anymore. It doesn't appear to be locked up. Yeah, that's probably the culprit there. It's got some disgustingness on it. Now the smell is exposed. It has a seal that obviously is out of place. That could be part of the reason why it is smelling. It appears there might be some screws in here. Well, there is 2 screws underneath here. I was able to get the one loose, but I cannot break the other one loose. So the bottom of this toilet has a little wrap on it. And have to remove that in order to take the little clips off the bottom and slide the toilet out. It is really cramped. Luckily I have a very small stubby screwdriver, because that other one won't reach in there. There's no way to get to the back one, but I'm noticing they made a provision for that. They slotted it, so hopefully it's not tight, because that does have to come out. Oh man, this thing stinks. And there we go. Phew! Man, that thing stinks. So according to the instructions, there's a little slide bracket that goes underneath the main switch that supposedly, according to the instructions, they just put a little hook underneath there and slide it out. Sure doesn't look like it's in there though. I have a little hook tool. I've got a couple of them I can play with. I'm not going to be able to see underneath there because I can't even see underneath there. Let's see if I can hook onto it. Okay, I am going to have to go get the replacement part and see if I can make more sense of this, because this doesn't make any sense. Okay, here's the replacement toilet. And here is the piece that you gotta hook. You can see there, this is where it latches to the floor. Very deceiving from the photos. I'm expecting to see it here, but that's where it starts out, and then you plunge it down. So I gotta get back underneath here and pull on it. Well, it's not gonna be fun. Well, it looks like my tool worked okay. I was able to slide both of those brackets forward. Really difficult to get the one on that side, but let's see if I can lift this thing out of the way. It's loose, but it was loose anyway. There we go. It does have a rubber seal of sort. But you can see the telltale signs of leakage. The blue dye from the chemical, it appears it was leaking out of this side and out of this side. But let's see how disgusting that is. Hopefully that's the same seal that I ordered. But yeah, there's the reason why I'm stinking so bad. And there's the fan. I wondered where the fan was. Alright, now comes the cleanup phase. Obviously this has been leaking all around the seals. I'm not going to rebuild this because they obviously go bad, and that part was $65. So this is what came with the toilet as the seal, and as long as these bolts are adjusted correctly, that should seal up fine. So we'll clean up the seal in the trailer on the floor and get this installed. And now that I know these are slotted, before I put the toilet back in place and stand on my head trying to get this in there, I'll just put these in snug. Alright, that'll work. Alright, you'll notice different shaped. The little end goes on the bottom so that it doesn't restrict the handle. Now I just need to adjust the height of the bolts that go into here. They're supposed to be set at 1 3/8 from the top of the flange to the top of the nut. And the nuts turn really easy, and it looks like they work their way loose with the trailer that bounces on no shocks. So I'm going to put some Loctite on it this time. They didn't have any Loctite, and those nuts are free to turn. So I think that's part of the reason why this was leaking. I think it just worked its way loose. These bolts, they turn pretty easy. I put some Loctite on them to lock them down. I have a sneaking suspicion that the last toilet, these turned so easily that they just kind of vibrated and worked their way loose, because the toilet was really loose. So it just lost its seal, as well as the fact that it just decayed and rotted with age. But this main seal, it was leaking pretty bad, and I'm sure that those have just loosened up. To adjust them to the bolts to the right height, the kit comes with this little spacer, and you're supposed to use this to measure exactly the height from the floor to the bottom side of that, which the way they have it set up with this little gauge, it's pretty hard to use, and my floor is warped. So I use this straight edge, just measure to the top of the straight edge. I'm confident that's where it's supposed to be. The prior toilet, they didn't use this piece. This piece is supposed to be set so the toilet doesn't turn, and this slides up inside of one of the legs. You're supposed to set the toilet in place, draw around the leg, and then place this, but the prior toilet actually left a mark there, so that was pretty easy to set. I'm going to put some RTV sealant around this flange to seal that in. Okay, well, it has slid into place. So yeah, that was a bad idea to put the silicone on there, because now I've got to take it back off. Those nuts are not tightened down far enough. Even though I went by all the instructions and all the dimensions, you can see that's just too loose. I don't think there's any way I can get to the top of those nuts and adjust them either. Yeah, they're not even close to being where they need to be. Okay, let's try that again. That's much better. I'm trying to feel for a little snap, because when I put it into place the first time, it kind of clicked into place. It's not now, so I'm sure I'm really close. So this is the bracket. It does have just a slight shoulder on there as well as a stop. So I'm trying to make sure that's all the way in there. Can't quite tell. Doesn't look like it. Okay. I was able to get those brackets all the way back in. It compressed the rubber seal. You can see that rubber seal right there. And you can also see at the base, I hope. I think you can see it in the video. You can see the silicone that I put around is oozing out around the edges too. So I'm confident I got a really good strong seal. And there is the little plastic slide bracket as well as the nut. I had to adjust it a couple of times. Pretty fine-tuned. It's a coarse thread, so it only takes a fraction of a turn, and it's too far or not far enough. But I feel really good about it now. You can see I'm wiggling the toilet. It's solid. It's not moving on the floor. That piece was really a good idea. I'm glad I noticed that in the instructions, because that'll prevent it, I think, from working loose again and breaking that seal. So the worst part of this is finished now. Now we'll wire it up and put everything back together. Now this one's going out of blind. Okay, I felt that snap in. Yay! Wow. We are solid. We're gonna have to get some wire cutters out and trim these off. They need to be dead-headed off to work in those little clamps. So we'll start by trimming these off. Make a blunt cut. So now the white one, typically you'll just hinge this closed, and once it's crimped, it will cut into that plastic sleeve on the wire. Hopefully you can see how that slid into place. And now the other one, we'll try to get that back exactly in the same groove. And that is back in place. Okay, now to test up my connections, make sure I've got a good bite into the wire, I'll go connect the battery and test it out. There's the fan, and there's the toilet. Double check my connections. We're good. Now let's just tuck this up out of the way. I'm done. This toilet is in place. Another project done. This one was one I was really dreading. Well, looks good. So thanks for watching this video. I have a lot of other videos that I'm doing on mostly cars, classic cars restorations, but I do a lot of handyman projects too. So please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. And thanks again for watching.